Welcome back, my dear students and viewers. In the first session, as we saw the essential parts of the letter, in this particular session we will see the secondary parts of the letter. I have already mentioned. Now let us look at this slide and let us remind ourselves the secondary parts of the letter. The first is attention line, the second is reference number, third is enclosure, fourth is identification initials, and the last is carbon copy notation. Now we will see each and every part with an example. The first is attention line. What is attention line? Attention line shows or it indicates immediate attention of some important information of some person or words in the letter. Attention line can be written only if needed. As I said, there is no need of writing this attention line compulsorily. If you want something to come on reader's sight urgently, specially, then only you can write this attention line. For example, you can write the attention line like this. You can write ATTN, that is the short form of attention, then colon. If you write, for example, Mr. G.A. Patel, chief partner, it means that this particular letter is written, it is meant only for Mr. G.A. Patel. So anyone except Mr. G.A. Patel cannot open that particular letter. This is the attention line. So you are asking your reader to pay attention to this particular word. Therefore, it is called attention line. You can also write like this, full word attention, and then you can write account department. It means that this particular letter is written or it is meant only for account department. So this is the first secondary part. It is called attention line. The second is reference number. Let us see what is it. Reference number helps a person, for example clerk, to make a note of a letter in inward or outward register. Dear students, you might know that in every institute or firm or a company or any academic institutions or anything, there are two registers being mentioned or maintained. It is called inward register and outward register. If a company writes a letter to any other company, then there is a number of that particular letter, and that particular number will be written in outward register because the letter is going out. Similarly, if so and so company will receive the letter from any other company from outsider, then that particular number will be mentioned in the outward register or inward register. So it means that you can see the number of transactions happen in the last months or year. So this reference number will help, particularly a clerk looks after inward and outward registers. So when you write a reference number in your letter, this will in fact help your letter reader or in particular clerk to see that when you wrote a letter, date or what was the topic of the letter, etc. Everything will be noted in the inward or outward register. It shows the last transaction also. So reference number, that in what reference you had written a letter. Secondly, reference number is also used to mention the last transaction or the last transaction with some check number. Check number in the sense, if you had done your last transaction with so and so company, and if you had sent some check of amount to that particular company, and if you are writing a letter to the same company, you can mention that check number in your present letter. So this will also come as reference number. It can be written soon after the subject. So reference number, if you want to write reference number, you can write it soon after subject. For example, how you can write it? You can write REF, then you can put a dot, then you can put colon, and you can write this number. This is just an hypothetical number, reference number. Any number, reference number can be written like this. Then come enclosure. It is very important. What is it? If a letter writer wants to attach or enclose documents other than the letter will include the word enclosure. If there is more than one type, writer will write the word enclosure with some number. For example, write enclosure, then into bracket write 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. as a number of other documents enclosed which does not include the letter itself. For example, if you are writing a job application, so your job application will become the main letter. But if that job application will contain other documents, for example your mark sheet, etc., then every document will come as the enclosure. This is just an example. Here we are learning official letters. So if you are writing a letter, and with that particular letter if you are attaching some other documents, so those documents will be mentioned in the letter itself. In the list of enclosure, letter will not come because it is not a document, it is the main letter, so it will not be included in the enclosure. Here is an example how you can write the enclosure. You can write the full word enclosure, then you can put a comma or colon, and then you can give a number. If the enclosures are more than one, then you can give the number. For example, one is check, the second is a file page. You can only write ENCL as an enclosure abbreviation, and you can write the enclosures document's name. For example, if this is a letter, just to show you, this is an enclosure, number 1, number 2. So here will come enclosure, just to show you. This is the earlier letter as an example we had seen. Here is a signature after the complementary clause, then we just left some space or a line, and here we wrote enclosure. These fonts might not be visible for the readers. If they are not visible for the readers on the screen, I mention it. Then come identification initials. What is it? This shows the names of person who drafted and typed the letter. It is almost at the end of the page. Generally it happens that boss is supposed to draft a letter, and some person as a typewriter, he or she will type the letter. This is very professional and official use of writing the letter. As an example, if you write RSP/MP, what does it mean? First, it is called identification initial. It is written like this. It is not compulsory to write. These are the secondary parts. If you do not write it, it is okay, it is fine. RSP means Mr. R.S. Patel, who has drafted the letter, and MP means Mr. M.K. Patel, who typed the letter. So if you wish to mention the persons who drafted and typed the letter, you can write the identification initials like this. Then comes carbon copy notation. What is it? This indicates the name of the person or department or office to whom the copy of the letter is to be dispatched. For example, if you are writing a letter to so and so company, and if you wish that the copy of this particular letter should also go to any other company, suppose if you are writing a letter to company A, and if you wish that the copy of the letter should also go to company B, then you have to mention it as carbon copy notation. Method of writing is, it is written as, first you can write double C, carbon copy, no need of putting double inverted comma. Directly you can write double C, then you can put a colon, then you can write Mr. S.M. Mukherjee. So for example, if you are writing a letter to Mr. Mehta, and if you are putting carbon copy and you are adding a name of Mr. S.M. Mukherjee, it means that letter will go to Mr. Mehta and the copy of the same letter will go to Mr. S.M. Mukherjee. So therefore this carbon copy notation is important. Tips for better letter writing. Each and every tip is very important, so I would advise you to pay attention to all the tips. The first is proofread your letter after writing. Generally people what they do is they write the letter and they directly send it, dispatch it. They do not check. Proofread means to check. When you write a letter, again you have to see, or you have to check whether my letter is written properly or not. So proofread. What will you proofread? Check sentence structure, grammar, spelling mistakes, etc. It is an impression. So when you are writing a letter, do not keep your letter full of mistakes. You have to check sentence structure, whether my sentence structure is proper or not, whether the tense you used is proper or not, whether the grammar you used is proper or not, syntactically, grammatically, sentences are written in a proper grammar or not. Spelling, if you type a letter in a computer screen, that is fine, computer will show you the spellings, but spelling mistakes also you must tally, you must proofread them. Third tip is keep the language of your letter easy for letter reader. This I have already explained earlier also, that when you are writing a letter, do not keep the language of your letter so difficult that your letter reader gets baffled or confused to read your letter. Writing a letter is an art, as I said, and it is very important to use easy language. So when you are writing a letter, it is very difficult to be simple. It is very difficult to be simple, and it is very simple to be difficult. Easy writing or easy scripts are rare. They are not available. If you want to write difficult, you can easily write, but if I tell you to write something in an easy way, it is very much difficult. Then don't write date like this. We have already seen the ways of writing dates, American and British, cardinal and ordinal number, but often we have seen that people like to write the dates in this way. For example, March 1, 2004. So March and then comma and 1 comma, there is no space. Do not write the dates like this, or do not write the dates even like this, 1 then oblique, again 1 oblique 2014. This is not the proper method. This is not a method at all. So do not follow such non-standard ways of writing the dates. Then be brief, clear and to the point in your letter. Letter should be brief. It should be befitting to one page. You have to be very brief. As I said, it is very difficult to be brief also. It is very difficult to be simple and brief. You are not supposed to write an essay. You are supposed to write a letter. So your language should be clear, and it should be, everything should be explained, everything should be conveyed in short and sweet language. And you have to be to the point. To the point means you have to stick to the main point. If you are writing a letter about your last payment, then you have to talk about that last payment only. You cannot talk anything else in that letter. That means to the point. But don't miss important point to write. Everything is good in limit. If I tell you to be brief, you have to be brief in a balanced manner. Do not be so brief that you miss the important point. Everything should be in balance. So you have to write the letter in a balanced language or a balanced manner. Then comes, try to fit your letter in one page. As I said, the standard size or the real original size of the letter is one page. A good letter completes in one page. Do not extend your letter to one page. Try that you can write your, if you are writing your letter handwritten, not that computer, and if your fonts are normal size, then you can surely complete your letter in a one page. Last is avoid old fashioned phrases or jargon. Old fashioned phrases and jargon. Jargon means technical words or very difficult. Very difficult words you are not supposed to use in your letter, or old phrases. Correct? The outtrodden, old means outdated or old fashioned phrases which are not in current use now. So such phrases or words are not or should not be used in your letter. So these are some tips which if you follow, I think you can draft a better letter in a good way. Last comes use short and simple words. As I said, do not prolong your language, do not prolong your point, be brief, to the point, in clear language, and tell everything what you want to say in short, with sweet and short words. Be careful with the dates, and once you draft your letter, then look at it again and again, check your grammar, spelling errors, etc. If you do this, I tell you, your letter will look decent, official, professional, and it will surely leave a positive impression and effective impression on your letter reader. Useful abbreviations. In your book Active English on page number 182, these abbreviations are given. These abbreviations you can use in your letter. For example, if you use ASAP, it means as soon as possible. So this you have to you can use in your letter when you want the response as soon as possible. For example, you can write reply ASAP. It means reply as soon as possible. It is a short form of as soon as possible. CC we have seen already, carbon copy. This also we discussed, enclosure. So you can write ENC or you can write ENCL like this. It is called enclosure. Per pro, that also we saw. You can either write double P or you can write per pro. Its full form is per procurationum. Then comes PS. This also we discussed, postscript. If you forgot to write something in your letter, after signature, if you remember, if you want to add that particular point in your letter, you can add that point with a title PS, and the title is PS, that means postscript. Then PTO, that means please turn over. It is informal phrase. Generally it is not used in official, but it means please turn over if your page extends to one page, more than one page. Then RSVP. Now RSVP is actually a French word. Répondance s'il vous plaît. This